Now, as I said, I wanted to play around with the active group, with active attributes on these chairs a bit. So what I'm going to do is drop down a group here. What I want basically is the chairs at the back at some points to become active later on into the sim, and then as the door at the back opens, then a few more become active and maybe will fly out the hole at the back of the plane, okay, and leaving the ones at the front intact. It's kind of practical reasons. If more of the chairs at the front are active, then they'll go up and kind of clog the hole and stop the agents from flying out the back. And it makes sense that if the plane was to tear up at the back, then there'd be more turbulence and the plane kind of stretching and moving there. Okay, so I'm going to create this group. It's going to be points, and I'm going to call it active. Okay, and again here I'm going to be using a bounding box, right? Just give us some space to work with. Right, so I'm going to be using this to make a selection of points to change these to becoming active. So I'm going to be animating this the Z, I believe it will be, yeah, in G. Okay, so yeah, up until let's say frame 60, nothing will be active, none of them will, so I'll be static. And then at frame 60, let's grab the back 4. Okay, keyframe that. Oops. There we go, that should be, excuse me, move that forward, make sure we have the keyframe there. Why is that not working? I'm doing the size, excuse me. Okay, move that back, keyframe, delete that channel, keyframe here, frame 60, and move it forward, grab the first 4, you can see them highlighted there. There we go, perfect. And then as we go on, so to frame 90, frame 90, let's say, no, sorry, I've done this wrong. So here it should be back there, and then from frame 60 to 90, yeah, they come in, right? So as the plane is just about to break apart, these ones at the back start breaking up as well. And then as we go on into frame 130, but there I wanted to get even more. Okay, so maybe the first kind of 7 rows, say to there. Okay, so here the first part, that wiggle doesn't matter really. And then as we're getting closer to the plane splitting apart, a few of them at the back will split up. Don't worry about that, it's just a mistake. And then as we get to, after the plane is split up, we got loads of chairs breaking up. Now, so I want to add some randomness to this. So in here, we're going to set up, iterate over the active group. Okay, so only the points in there will be active, but also I want to add some randomness to this. Okay, so I'll use an if statement with rand at ptnum is less than, I'll use a float value for this. I'll generate an input, call it active, oops, and in our brackets, oops, not that one, that should be it. Okay, and then we generate this value. So let's say, I don't know, we want 80% to be active. We could drop a color just to visualize this. I think on points, I think active is 1. Make it red. Doesn't seem to be working. Let's see. Points group. There we go. Okay, so as this comes forward, you can see we're getting them at the back, and then kind of randomly, a few of them are being added to that as we move on through the simulation. Perfect. So let's take a look in the simulation. I also want to look at adding, the noise, the turbulence to this sim. So make sure we go back to the first frame here. I'm going to add some sub-steps to this as well now. I'm going to start, dialing in our simulation, and that can have an effect on the constraints. Let's just drop a camera here provisionally. I'll probably move it around again in a bit. And okay, so to add some noise to this, we need to be looking at the rigid body solver and adding a pop force. So under the hood, a crowd's solver is pop solver and rigid body as well. So they can both be controlled with pop forces. So we could just plug that into the center inputs there, and then we can add some noise to this. Okay, I'm going to turn off ignore mass there and give my crowd agents, I think, double the density. Okay, and maybe bring down this one, the chairs, make them a bit lighter. And let's see, so here we can add some noise. So yeah, we're going to use pretty big numbers here. Let me think. So eventually I'm going to have a few others, but we'll just start with the one. So I'm going to start with this one at 20,000. The amplitude of 20,000. The swirl size, so I don't want, I don't want her going this way and her going that way. That wouldn't really make sense. So, I want them all generally to be going in the same direction. So I'm going to push this up to 10. You can see that already having an effect. And all of these up to 10 as well. Okay, the pulse length, so how often they change the direction, basically. Bring this down to 0.8. Let's see, roughness, a bit less roughness. Turbulence at the same thing. Okay. Let's check that. I'll just play that initially, see if we get anything. So it's doing something already, which is great. I'll run a quick flip book. I might just change the offsets a bit, see if I can get them moving in a different direction first of all. I'm just going to run a quick flip book, let's say to about 100 frames. See how that looks. Right, that flip book hasn't finished, but I've noticed as it's going way too going kind of crazy. I want something crazy, but it's a bit much. I realized I wanted 20,000, but this is 200,000. So I'm just going to drop that down to 20,000 in the amplitude, and then run that flip book again. Maybe we could go a bit longer. So there we go. That's all done. It didn't take too long to simulate. With all of everything that we did in the RBD setup, helped this to run pretty quickly. So you can see the basis of our sim there with some kind of camera shake. It should look pretty cool. Also going to be adding on another layer of small scale noise, and also, you know, after this frame 100, the back opens out, and then we'll add a way of pushing all the agents out the back as well.